for everybody else. I think it's picking up everything. Yeah, I went back over it once to see if I missed him. What's on the bottom here? Nope.
I thought we met at like 2 o'clock.
And this one,
Yes, sir.
what the hell that shit?
Data bars postage.
Tomorrow?
Postage.
Oh, it's for them sending.
Unmuted. Oh. All right. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Roll call for the record. All members of council are here. Our interim city manager's first meeting today, Pat Haley. Thank you for being with us and bearing this long past meeting or week that you had with plenty of meetings. And we have all members of staff now with us, with the exception of, we don't have Monica Hofstetter. She's online? Okay, I didn't see her. So Monica Hofstetter is online along with our legal counsel, Julie Norton. Anybody else I'm missing?
Corey,
Corey?
is he here?
No,
Well,
I gave him. a message.
Corey will be out. Okay. So Corey will be out as well. Thank you. Okay, then moving on to agenda approval. So, council members, there's been a lot of things happening with the agenda. You might have seen some emails. Maybe some of you were not included in those emails. That we have to add a couple items to the active agenda. Actually, one item to the active agenda, 2 items to the active agenda, and then we have an executive session being added at the end of the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and read the amendments and entertain those for a motion. So we're requesting 2 executive sessions to be added today. First, added to the beginning of the active agenda, closed session, discussing collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 42.30.140, subsection 4. And second is at the end of the agenda. Let me see, make sure that I got them right from Julie.
Those 2 pages. on the sub-
RCW 42.030.110 subsection G, subsection I, and RCW 42.30.1101 subsection 1G, to discuss pending litigation and legal counsel and reviewing qualifications of an applicant. And the last item for amendment approval would be the public hearing from the adopted ordinance establishing a 6-month emergency moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for essential public facilities, including secure community transition facilities. And this was the adopted ordinance from council's meeting on March 2nd. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Galvan. You know, this was your item.
I don't remember the date, but it sounds about.
Okay, I was doing some quick search through my notes earlier. However, that ordinance was adopted, and because of that, it gives way to a public hearing. It wasn't listed on the agenda, but it had been listed previously, so I know that community members are expecting that. Anything else that you would like to add to that public hearing item, Councilmember Galvan? Everything we covered it? Okay, so can I entertain a motion to add these amendments to the active agenda and at the end of the agenda?
Can, excuse me, Madam, was there, the executive session is going to be before or after the public comments?
Julie mentioned that it's a closed session, and that will happen at the top of the active agenda.
Okay,
So right after invocation, pledge of allegiance.
okay.
I have one question. So the beginning one, that'll be the first one will be the collective bargaining one before, right?
Correct,
before?
and that has to happen at the top of the active agenda because there is action.
Okay. And the second one you mentioned, you stated 2 RCWs. Can you repeat those for me, please?
Yes. 42.030.110 subsection G's I and RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1G.
Perfect. Thank you.
No, I'll make the motion to approve the changes to the agenda.
The motion on the table. Is there a
I'll go in
second?
second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Hart, second by Councilmember Chavez. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and start a roll call. Councilmember Galvan,
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Cesati,
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart.
Yes.
A two vote yes, motion carries. The amendments will carry into the agenda. Thanks for bearing with all of this. So next up on the agenda is invocation. Do we have somebody here to provide us an invocation? Thank you. Please stand if you're able to and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come before you. And we thank you for so many things. We thank you for our great town and even the great weather that we're enjoying, the flowers and the trees and everything that's in bloom. And so we just pray that this is the beginning of blessings for our area. Father, we think now of our first responders, and we certainly ask for safety for them and for their families, just that you be with each one of them on every call that they go out. We think of our city manager now, Father, and we just pray for wisdom for him and for his family, just that you be with them. Father, I think of the council members, each individual, and that you grant them with safety and wisdom. We pray for their families as well, Father, that you be with each of them. We think of our schools and all of the things that are going on in such a busy time of the year with traveling and sports and all of the other activities and plus the learning. And we just pray for each of the teachers and the students as well. And then, Father, we think of our businesses. We know that there's so many storefronts that are empty, and we just ask that those could be filled and that people could be able to shop local, and just that this would be a thriving community. Most of all, Father, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and for all that he's done for us. And we thank you again for everything in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Up on our list, before we get to business, is the proclamation and presentation for National Agricultural Day. So Deputy Mayor, or I'm sorry, Councilmember Galvan, you submitted this for approval today. Do you want to provide some commentary?
So tomorrow, March 24th is National Agricultural Day. I think for the most part, between March 15 and March 21st was National Agricultural Week. And given that we are in the center of the valley and we're surrounded by agricultural farms and industries, I figured this it's an appropriate proclamation for the city of Sunnyside to have. I know that the governor did something similar earlier in the month, and I invited the FFA members for tonight. Hopefully, we could get this passed and approved and read into the record. Any questions?
No, just thank you for bringing this up. This is very important and just appreciate the time and effort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I make a motion that we approve this resolution for the proclamation for National Agricultural Day and have that read into the minutes.
Nice second. Or
Okay, so motion by Deputy Mayor Hart and I got second by Councilmember Vasquez. And so I'll go ahead and initiate a roll call. Councilmember Dolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Cesati,
Yes.
Councilmember Galvan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez,
yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart,
Yes.
and a two vote yes, motion carries. So this has now been approved by council, and I will go ahead and read the proclamation. It's a little lengthy, but I'll do my best. We'll read it into the record. And after that, the FFA members, we're more than happy to have you all come up here and take some pictures with members of council. Okay. So whereas the city of Sunnyside is located in the heart of the Yakima Valley, one of the most productive agricultural regions in the world, where farms and ranches contribute significantly to the cultivation of apples, grapes, hops, cherries, pears, dairy products, and a wide variety of other crops that nourish communities across the nation and around the globe. And whereas agriculture in and around Sunnyside supports thousands of local jobs and sustains families through farming, farm labor, food processing, transportation, research, equipment supply, and agricultural services that together strengthen the economy vitality of our community. And whereas the success of Washington agriculture relies on the dedication and collaboration of producers, growers, farm workers, processors, distributors, educators, researchers, agricultural business, and community partners whose hard work and innovation help maintain Sunnyside's proud agricultural heritage. And whereas the Yakima Valley is internationally recognized for its leadership in hop production, wine, grapes, tree fruit, and dairy operations, and Sunnyside's agricultural community continues to play a key role in maintaining Washington's reputation as a global leader in high-quality agricultural production. And whereas recognizing March 24, 2026 as National Agricultural Day provides an opportunity for the residents of Sunnyside to celebrate the essential role agriculture plays in our daily lives, to support the people and communities who make agriculture possible, and to inspire future generations to pursue careers in agriculture and related fields. Now, therefore, I, Vicky Frausto, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the State of Washington and on behalf of the Sunnyside City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 as National Agricultural Day. I, in testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed done at the City of Sunnyside this 23rd day of March in the year of our Lord 2026. Okay, congratulations. Yvonne?
Yeah, here's your copy. You have a copy for them?
That is their copy. They can take that copy. We just didn't get it on the fancy paper. We can do that and then get it.
Okay.
I'll give it to you so then you can get it to them.
Cool.
Mhm.
Here you go, guys.
Okay. Counselors, would anybody want to go up and take
Well,
a picture with the
I
FFA?
thought you might, and certainly.
Okay. Well, it's all inclusive.
Well, we can stand behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. That's because, well, first of all, let's shake your hand here while they're getting here. Hi. Hello. Hello.
Again.
Hello.
Hello again.
Are you the president?
I missed everybody.
Say no. And who's the president?
Hey, start over.
Oh,
I do.
okay.
And Maddie, thank you.
Just wanna.
Your dad's not up here. Tell him he needs to get up here.
We all just kind of squeeze together here and we can.
No, it's council elected officials.
Here, you wanna.
Just put it in here. It's fine.
Everybody can see everybody. Shoulders.
Cool.
All right, so everybody got
Thank you
it?
guys for being here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I might. Goody, goodies.
Is it edible?
Is it cookies?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Is there a pencil? Oh, there's a pen.
Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Everybody.
Pens are nice.
Thanks, Annie.
We never can. Madam Mayor, if I just would address the FFA chapter before they take off. Just want to say congratulations. I've been following you on Facebook of all the things you've been up to. I understand that this little paper tells all the stuff you've been working on. And so far, you guys have been just really doing your high school proud in your chapter. And it's really awesome to see you here. And when is your plant sale? I got to have the date. May 1st and 2nd. All right. Well, that's the best place to get plants. You know that they're grown with care. So thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Cool.
Okay, now moving on to public comment. Was there anybody who signed up?
Dang it, I can't find what I'm looking for here.
Thank you. Okay, I have two. Oh, I have Monica Niemeyer. Ms. Niemeyer, is your public comment for the later part of the meeting or is general? So you want me to call you back for general public comment? There are two, and I was gonna state it into the record now. Okay, and the second person, I can't really, it's Jennifer Martinez? Okay. So both general comment, okay. Okay, so we have two public comments and oh, for public hearing, yes, okay. So there had to be an amendment to the agenda to include public hearing, so you won't see it on the agenda. We just actually motioned and seconded to approve that. That will be item D on the active agenda. So I don't know if Jennifer is with us online, but just making sure that she knows. And I will make sure I call her up and anybody else who wants to speak during public hearing. We haven't, there's been some transitions, so we haven't been able to actually get the language on the agenda. We will make sure that it is on the next agenda. And this is around public comment. So last month, sometime in January, during one of our council meetings, we adopted two public comments per our council rules and procedures. The first comment is at the top of the agenda, and this is for citizens wishing to address the council regarding any item listed on the active agenda only. And they are allotted no more than 3 minutes. The second public comment section at the end of the agenda is for the public, citizens, to provide general public comment on any topic. Speakers are also only allotted no more than 3 minutes. So making sure I read that into the record because it still hasn't been placed on the agenda, but it has been in practice since we first adopted it back in January. We will make sure we get this language on the upcoming meeting, so everybody has, where we're all on the same page around expectations and agreements here. Okay. All right, so since I don't have anybody signed up for public comment related to active agenda, I will move into the consent agenda. So the consent agenda has, looking over payroll vouchers, approve payroll voucher numbers 2006 through 2344, and wire transfers is listed for $648,027.52 for the period ending March 19th, 2026. Claim vouchers. Approve claim voucher numbers 2287 through 2502, and wire transfers is listed for $495,657.19 for the period ending on March 19th, 2026. And not to put you on the spot, Mr. City Manager, or those from Finance Committee, but I know that there was some comments that y'all wanted to make before coming into the consent agenda from y'all's meeting last week.
Yeah. I don't know who wants to address that, but I can go ahead. And then if Mr. Mr. Haley would back me up on this. As we.
No, are you kidding me? I'm not going to do that.
You can do that. Anyways, as part of what the Finance Committee is doing now is we meet with the Finance Director on the Thursday before council meeting, and we go over the check register and the payroll register, and we examine each of the expenditures at length. And we question, just like you do when you're here, council members, as you are here and you go through and you look at all the different things. Trust me, we spent 3 hours and we looked at every single item for the time that was announced here through the let's see, ending in March 19th. So we did look at every single thing. So if we figure that if you have not checked with the finance director or talked to one of us about any concerns that you have about any of the items, I would suggest that that's how we will do it here going forward. So we don't spend an hour and a half, debating about whether or not $14 for a couple of batteries for some key fobs is a worthwhile expenditure of money. But in any case, we know now which ones are the annual amounts of money that go out for different organizations that we belong to, different subscriptions that we have. We know now that there are certain expenditures that are monthly, like the leases on the cars, the paper copiers, and telephones and cell phones and so forth. So we have made a thorough examination of this and we find it to be in order. Want to add anything?
Go ahead.
Well, with that being said, I mean, I know we did discuss one of the particular claims from the attorney, the defense attorney, and it still doesn't sit well with me. It's claim number 2473, and that one I would like to pull until we get further information. I did request from Monica a copy of the invoice, and in there. There's just no proof, right? It's just a statement or a letter of this attorney saying that he was 58 cases overload, but, are we supposed to take that word or that letter? I still would like a little bit more information on that one in particular. And the rest of them, yeah, you are right. We did discuss that. My initial thoughts on that is, I put myself on the shoes with the other counselors that are not on the finance subcommittee, and they do have the right to ask, some of these questions. That's what we're here for. If there's questions that could be asked over the email, I do recommend that they do that. Shoot an email to Monica or the city manager. But I don't know what the rest of council feels. If I had questions, I would want these questions to be asked in public also.
And the Finance Committee, just for your edification, is consists of myself and George Galvan and Letty Sasadi. And as I said, we met with the city manager, interim city manager. We met with HR, Heath Anderson, and trying to remember who else was in the room.
Monica.
And Monica, of course. Monica was there via Zoom. And we did grill her quite a lot on the attorneys because it doesn't seem right how they're trying to get some extra money out of us, and there's some argument going on. So we did put in a request for that, and we do want to pull that particular one till we have more information. I agree.
Okay, so there's one item requested to being pulled. Mr. Haley, did you want to add anything?
Well, it's been my experience and my recommendation that the council members who sit on various committees are charged with the responsibility of using their judgment as to the items that are being referred to in that particular committee. And so out of respect for those council members who are assigned to those, you allow them to, you respect their judgment. And so instead of duplicating the efforts, that we just take 3 council members and the city manager and the finance director and trust that we have gone through every item with a fine tooth comb and asked the question. And at that rate, we efficiently use our time together and trust and respect the judgment of other council members. Committees can be rotated over time so that if a council member would like to sit on that committee, that can be rotated and they can have their own opportunities. So it's my recommendation that we trust the judgment of the council members who are sitting on that committee to thoroughly evaluate the criteria of what they're assigned to do in that committee. So we don't duplicate efforts.
So with that said, I would like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda
Without that particular item.
with the exception of item number 2473.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Deputy Mayor Hart. Second by Counselor Galvan. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Seeing none. Excuse me.
Hearing none. Did you, oh, go ahead. You're a little louder, Counselor Dolan.
I just had a question about 2311 and 2312 for the committee.
And just for future, what was it again, the number?
2311 and 2312,
311 and 2312. Let me see.
both of them with the last name McKinley.
That is, then when we were talking again about the lawyers, that's part of the lawyer objections. We've got questions about all of them because they have all brought in this after, they've done the amount of money that they did, the amount of cases that they did, and then they've thrown some extra ones as being late. So we are questioning in that and we are investigating that. So there may be some changes in the contract. So that's why that's a husband-wife.
Correct.
Yeah. And they
And
both,
they do exactly the same thing. They get exactly the same check. They
Uh-huh.
have the exact same invoices
uh-huh,
other than their initials.
uh-huh.
So it just seemed odd to me. I just
Yeah,
curious
Yeah,
about
it's,
it.
Right, there are 2, we have 5 defense attorneys,
yeah, we have 5 of those.
5 of them, and one happened to be a husband and wife team.
No, 2 of them are. We have 2 husband and wife teams in this.
Mhm.
We have 2 husband and wife
Yeah,
teams,
'cause they have
okay.
the same spelling of the last
I'm
name.
sorry, but
Kind of threw
the
me.
McKinleys that you're referring to, Doug and Anastasia, are individual attorneys providing services for the city of Sunnyside. And so it appears that it's a duplication of a check, but it's actually two separate attorneys.
But that's,
Yeah, that's what I was curious about because they are both in there for the exact same amount of money.
yeah.
Well, then if you go to the Geisler
Mhm,
and one of them has a case overload,
mhm. So both.
the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And we did, if I could pull them up again, we did overload from 2025 at our
Yes.
last
Yeah,
meeting
we did.
also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
how many?
we're really questioning it because they're continuing to write letters to the finance director about how they're not being paid properly, that somebody's getting more money than they're getting or something.
Then they'd be happy to supply invoices, I guess.
Yeah, I think they would be. And that's
like to
that's
see
going to
those
be
too.
our mission, is to get those.
Great.
Mhm.
And if you need a 4th on that committee, I'd love to sit in.
Well, that makes it a quorum.
Or, yeah.
So we have a quorum then,
No, but it works out. You'll get a chance in maybe
I
in
will.
another year
when we rotate.
when we rotate, you
Mhm.
bet.
Monica, do you have anything else to add to that before? we
Yeah,
move on
so
with the-
Julie might be able to speak on it a little clearer than I can, but there's a judicial rule that says you can only take so many cases. The cases last year were at 300, and that's what their contract is for. They get a set amount every month, and then at the end of the year, if they go over those cases, they have a specific amount they get for each case going over. This year, they've actually judicially dropped the amount that you can have in cases. So now I believe it's 280.
Yeah. I think it's-
cases that they're allowed to have. So the caseload actually has lessened this year. So that's something that we're going to request is that we keep a little better track of that so that we know when that caseload is about to go over, because we don't want to see them having such a substantial caseload going over.
Mhm.
Go
And
ahead.
I
Just
can
to-
echo what Monica said. There were changes to the caseload standards, but there's also a tiering option to reduce the burden. So you weren't supposed to have to fully change your caseload standards within a year. So what we need to do maybe as a team is find out what standard our court is applying, if they're doing the tiered or if they are just requiring you to go to the minimum right away, because that could impact your caseload counts.
And I believe that's what we're expecting to do.
Okay.
Counselor Dolan?
I would agree with you on the caseload part of it, but I also, if you check from 2022 and 2023, the amount of the scale that they're being paid jumped considerably. And
Yeah,
I'm
so they
curious
get
about,
they get an increase, a CPI increase every single year per their contract.
this was much higher than a CTI. We went back and looked at some of those and the increase happened 2 city managers ago.
Well,
And it was
I think that it's set now at a level,
a
amount.
level up there.
Yeah. Well, they're
It's
Just curious about
they're
that.
just lawyers,
It's largely market driven.
Yeah, it is market driven, so.
So, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of negotiation. That's what the market rate is.
And does the committee compare that to other cities and their paying?
Yes, we have, actually. We did talk,
I'd like to see
we
that.
did talk some about that
Great.
at our meeting the other day when we were, but it's still something we have to do some more investigating on it. So that will be coming back.
So y'all are meeting again and continuing the
Yeah,
conversation?
Yeah,
Okay.
we will probably talk about it at our next finance committee meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your work, Finance Committee. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Councilmember Dolan,
Yes,
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Galvan,
Yes.
Councilmember Cesati,
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart.
Yes.
Okay, so I too vote yes. Motion carries. Okay, so this moves us into the active agenda. For you all walking in, we just saw some of you just walk in, you'll see that the active agenda does not have the public hearing in place. We did amend motion and had a motion passed to include the public hearing, and that is item D, so right after wastewater utility improvement task. So I'm saying that now because we are about to go into closed session to go over RCW 42.30.140 subsection 4 to discuss collective bargaining. And so as soon as we come in, we'll go in through the active agenda, and that is now on the list. So if we can recess to go into closed session
Do we think
at 6:34. Julie, is there a time?
For a closed session, you do not have to call a time. So we'll just meet until we're done and then you'll open the doors and bring everybody back in.
Okay, so just hang tight. I don't think we will take too long. Knock on wood. And Julie, who do we need in the room for this?
Um, just the council, the manager, myself, and Monica would be fine. If she wants to participate. If there's any questions about the finances. The chief probably shouldn't be because he's a
Okay.
Oh,
member
yeah,
of the unit.
yeah, that's fine. Okay. Did you say Rob should stay?
No, he should
Oh,
not because
no.
he's
She
the
did not
union
say that.
members. Yeah.
We're ready? Okay. We're going to resume back into regular session at 7:19 p.m. As mentioned before, when I cited the RCW into the record, there would be action. So council members, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract with the CBC, excuse me, the CBA, Teamsters Local 760 regarding representing this Sunnyside Police Chief and Fire Chief, ratification as of through December of 31st, 2030.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Deputy Mayor Hart and then a second by Councilor Chavez. Is there discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll initiate a roll call. Councilor Galvan,
I abstain.
Councilmember Dolan,
I abstain.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Cesati,
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez,
I'll abstain as well.
Deputy Mayor Hart.
Yes.
I too vote yes. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on into, further into the active agenda. What is now item B is the resolution to implement alleviation of out-of-pocket ambulance fees for Sunnyside residents. So approving a resolution. Mr. City Manager, I believe this belongs to Chief Habrick.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is one of the steps following our amendment to our ambulance utility rate. So as one of our plans to implement as a result of that utility rate change to alleviate out-of-pocket costs for ambulance transports for City of Sunnyside residents. And so what I bring to you tonight is a resolution reflecting that, as well as at the guidance of our ambulance biller to have a departmental policy that reflects that practice as well. So they have something to go by on their end when billing out ambulance fees and charges. So I can stand for absolutely any questions or provide clarification or.
Councilor Dolan?
I had a question about the EMS study rate or rate study. I see on here it's $2,712.50. I was told that it should have been somewhere close to $30,000 for a rate change. Or a rate study, I mean.
What are you referring to, sir? I'm sorry, I don't have.
Well,
He's going by what the check register,
the check register.
which has already been, that's been paid. I think that's just
That's just a
That's
portion
just a
of the,
reference of an amount because I was curious, what is the total cost of the rate study?
That I don't know. That was conducted by our previous interim finance director. Ms. Zabel is one that initiated that study. I did not have any part of the contract or the pricing for the study whatsoever. It was presented to me as a.
As a done deal already.
Correct.
Oh, wow. That's good to know. Thank you.
Is that correct, Monica? I don't want to make sure I'm.
correct, that was secured. And I can pull it up and email it to you if you would like a copy of that, Mr. Dolan.
I'd love a copy of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Hart?
I was just going to say, the study that he's referring to, that was conducted by,
FCS group.
yeah, so that's what they do,
Correct.
those kinds of studies.
Yes, ma'am.
And there wasn't anything found there that's their normal charge is somewhere in that neighborhood?
Again, I did, as far as selecting the consultant or the contract, I did not have
Okay,
part of that whatsoever.
okay,
So I apologize. I don't have any answers.
that's all right. We'll get those. And so Mr. Dolan will be satisfied with that, I hope.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yeah,
It's good, it's valid.
Yeah. So I have a question on the resolution. I have a question on section 6 on the exceptions. Section 6, I had a question on A, the non-medically necessary transports. This would be something that would be excluded from the coverage with this program. So my question was just, how do you guys identify a non-medically necessary transport? And I guess I'm just kind of asking because there can be situations where they could come against, the city and say, well, like, it wasn't medical.
Correct. And so our practice is we're not doctors, we assess the patient, what we can, determine by, from vitals and the EKG, but we go by, if the patient has a medical complaint, then that necessitates, or that would be a necessary transport at that point until we can kind of rule out. What that's referring to there is, we have somebody who pretty much says, oh, I need to go to the pharmacy at the hospital to pick up my medications.
Okay.
There's not a medical necessity for them to go by ambulance, just,
Just like a free
they're
transport.
pretty much looking for a ride at that point, to be honest with you. What's that, sir?
People for people ride.
Well, exactly. That's where we suggest a ride share, people for people. But no, that's what that's referring to. That's not insinuating that the firefighter, the EMS provider is going to say, no, you don't need medical transport.
Okay.
That's not what that's for.
Perfect. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Absolutely.
And also, just for the record, I just wanted to make sure this is only going to be provided for residents who live within city limits of the city of Sunnyside, correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Albrecht? Counselor Galvan?
I have a lot. And thank you, Counselor Vasquez. I mean, that non-medical, shouldn't that be defined in the definitions? I think that's really important that we have that definition in there, just because, somebody could come back and say you didn't have it on there. Another one is section 4, subsection B. City of Sunnyside, City Fire Department, and ambulance billing service provider may require proof of residency. Unlike when it says may, and may establish administrative procedures to confirm eligibility. So the problem with that is that we're not going to have a procedure. And this doesn't say that we're going to have a procedure. It says that we may establish such procedure. We already have issues with not to go into detail, but with the courts on something like this. But I really believe that we should have something in place. I'm not sure who wrote this or who provided this. This guideline or whatnot. What's the ambulance, the billing department or the billing service that provided this, or who provided it?
For the most part, yeah, the template.
Yeah, I really believe it needs a lot more work. And then going back to the one of the definitions, eligible resident means an individual whose primary residence is located within the city of Sunnyside who meets eligibility requirements. So it's asking for the eligibility requirements, but we don't have those procedures in place. And just so people do understand that there is 2 sections in Sunnyside, north of Sunnyside, that do not fall within the city limits of Sunnyside. And there's another section of the city just east of Mapton Sunnyside Highway, over there by Cliffs. There's a lot of homes there. They don't fall within the city of Sunnyside. They don't pay into this. So we just want to make sure that we do know that. I love the program. I love what it does. But I think we really need to have a better procedure in place so that it's not taken advantage of. And it could be gifting the public funds, right? We don't have such procedure in writing. Somebody could come and say, hey, you guys are giving free rides to non-residents, and we're not really doing our work, our job, and then there's no procedure in place.
And then to kind of answer that first portion there, Counselor, so a lot of those are addressed in policy. And so that's where kind of the intent of the resolution was to, for council's direction and guidance in that regard, what is required, and Julie, feel free to step in if I'm going the wrong direction here. But really what we need to implement is policy. But because this has a potential, this has a financial component, I did not want to just go by departmental policy. I wanted to push a resolution in tandem with it, if that makes sense. And so as far as your concerns regarding establishing eligibility or what criteria they'd have to meet, that would be addressed in policy. And so what we would do at that point is, policies are malleable. And so that is certainly something that I actually have a note even right here about having what criteria. So more often than not, what I've talked with other agencies that have a similar program, usually, it'd be take the address off their ID, a piece of mail, or more often than not, what we utilize, and actually what we utilize in our record management system is what they call the hospital face sheet. And so the hospital obtains that. We get a copy after every transport. We're legally required to have one. And that has the information that they pull, whether it be from their insurance, from where they receive their mail, or whatever the case may be. And that's typically one of the most consistent ways to validate an address being within the city limits or not. And to back on top of those areas that, might seem like they'd be in the city due to proximity, but are not, we have a way of delineating those through GIS. And GIS says flat out, regardless of where it might look like on the map, it clarifies, is this residence within the city limits or is this an unincorporated Yakima County?
So then in section 7, subsection A, where it says the Sunnyside Fire Department shall administer the program and may adopt. Shouldn't that be will adopt?
If I may jump in, your agenda packet has a draft operational policy with it. So there already is a policy drafted, and we can incorporate some of these changes into that policy or procedure that you're talking about. The resolution is really just to create an exception to your existing code, which says everybody gets billed. And so this is to alleviate billing for your city residents. And the eligibility criteria are extremely minimal, and they are pretty, in my opinion, pretty clear as to what defines eligibility. You just have to be a city resident, and it's the policy that will spell out what proof maybe will be required to establish that you're a city resident. But if you look how the definitions track with eligibility in section 4, it works out, it makes sense, but it's a very, very broad, as you would expect, a very broad policy that says residents will be receiving free transports to create the exception to your code. And then the policy that was also included in your agenda packet is sort of a draft that'll be worked on and can add those additional, what are the standards of proof used to establish eligibility. But the idea is not to overanalyze this, and probably benefit of the doubt will be given to your resident status.
Go ahead, Councilor Vasquez.
Yeah, so you actually answered one of my questions. I was about to ask, like, and it's required proof, what proof would they be showing? So you did just state all of that into the record. However, I will agree with Councilor Galvan, just with the words may. I would feel more comfortable with should or shall or will, just something a bit more direct, because may is kind of like optional and not really like something that will be implemented or required from everyone. So that's just one change that I would appreciate.
And again, are we referring to the resolution on that part? Because everything that it is a reference to may is in the draft policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in regards to the resolution.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments?
I'm curious why we just don't use a picture ID with your address right on it, like Washington driver's license. So
You can, however, in the state of Washington, that when you adjust your residence, and I can speak just from personal experience, is that you can update your address in the online Department of Motor Vehicles or Department of Licensing, but your physical ID will not necessarily represent your most recent address until that ID is due to renew.
That's true.
and you have a transport, they're there. The person that had called was a city resident. The other person maybe lives in Reno and is their relative.
Mhm.
So when they transport them, does the relative get billed?
No, because the patient at that point is not a city resident.
They would be billed.
I'm sorry, I took your question backwards, sir. Sorry, my apologies. Yes, the patient would be billed at that point because the patient themselves is not a city resident. My apologies.
And see, that's what you have to establish. You can establish it later, I would guess, and then send them a bill for it. But that's just something that popped up.
Can I circle back to Councilor Vasquez's question or comment? I don't necessarily think you need the change you're requesting, because what it's saying is that the city may require proof of residency, but it doesn't have to if it adopts this language with this, or if it adopts the resolution with this language. We are proposing through this policy to add additional requirements, but if you were to adopt it now, it would just say we may require proof, and it's to give them flexibility. It doesn't necessarily change how you implement this program going forward.
So I guess like where my confusion would enter from your statement is just that this is going to be something that's going to be implemented that's new, and it's something that current residents who don't have insurance or who do pay a co-payment from their insurance, that they've always had to make a payment. They've always had to make a payment regardless if they lived in city limits or out of city limits. But moving this forward now, residents who live within city limits will now be able to they'll get like a forgiveness, like they won't have to pay this fee. So I just feel more comfortable if they are showing proof of residency. That way it's fair all across. And especially because, there are people who live outside of city limits who do not contribute anything into the money that comes into our city. And I just want it to be fair for everyone who does live within city limits, for it to be fair all across, and for them to be able to show proof of residency. I would feel 100% just more comfortable knowing that they are showing proof, and that it's not something optional, but that they will be showing proof.
Yes, go ahead.
But
Primer.
when you take them to the hospital, they have to show all that information.
That is correct. And so that's
So
all
it really-
captured on the face sheet.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all on the sheet. And also, they always ask about your insurance, if you've got insurance and all that thing. I've been there to the emergency ward a couple of times here this year, so I know what that involves. So I didn't have to take an ambulance or anything, but the big thing about this is that we're making it so people who live within the city don't have to pay for the ambulance ride.
Correct.
And
I
that
think-
really is the biggest piece of this.
Correct, ma'am. And I think to answer the kind of, and again, I'll have Julie step in if I'm going wrong. The May portion is that if we pick somebody up in the city, we take them to the hospital, we get their face sheet, it's a city address. There's our validation there. Where the May might come into is that the burden of proof would come on the patient at that point. If the documentation we have that says, no, they're not a city resident, and they insist, yes, I'm a city resident, the burden of proof would be on them to say, hey, here's the mail I receive at this city address, or here's my ID. And that's where the May comes into play there, because if we have everything right out of the chutes from the hospital face sheet or whatever, we don't have to go above and beyond per se to validate it. We have documentation that says, yes, they live at such and such address, which is in the city limits of Sunnyside. I don't know if that kind of answers a little bit. But yeah, the May would be pretty much as if we have to take any extra steps to validate, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I just wanted to make a comment that I don't think mail is a good way to determine whether or not they live there. We get a lot of mail for other people all the time.
It's just one method. And that was an example. If we don't want to have that be as a method to validate residency, then
And that's where your may comes in. You may establish that, but you should or will establish that would sound a lot more, like you're actually directing this to happen so that we have proof that you do live here.
Well, it's one of the
correct.
methods of
Right.
validating someone's residency, right? I know I usually use my passport every now and then when
Yep.
I have it handy. But, okay. What is the desire of council on item B, resolution to implement alleviation out-of-pocket ambulance fees for Sunnyside residents?
But before that, just one more question. Would you be fine if to table this item, or do you need this, I guess?
So I will say, as of now, on the cover sheet says, so we're kind of how we plan to implement this and when those rates go into effect is April 1st. And so I can make the change that we've discussed tonight can be made in policy, no problem, and have that done. But in order for us to have this approved so we can have these out-of-pocket fees waived by April 1st, the resolution would have to be approved tonight. But the concerns that we have about confirming eligibility and everything, I can address at any time and will immediately on policy, which goes to our ambulance biller and would be in effect by April 1st. If that answers your question, sir.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion to adopt the resolution regarding the alleviation of out-of-pocket expenses for Sunnyside residents for ambulance transport services provided by the Sunnyside Fire Department.
Okay, we got a motion by Deputy Mayor Hart. Is there a second?
I second.
Counselor Sasati? Second by Counselor Sasati. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll initiate a roll call. Councilmember Galvan?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Counselor Chavez?
Yes.
Counselor Sasati?
Yes.
Counselor Vasquez?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart?
Yes.
I too vote yes, motion carries. Okay, item C on the agenda, Yakima County and City of Sunnyside 9th Street and Lincoln Lift Station Replacement Seed Contract, or SIED. Approve a resolution to allow the interim city manager to sign said contract YC 2026-2. Do I hand that over to you or Hector?
I will defer to Hector to provide some background information. Thank you.
Good evening. Yes,
It's still locked? Oh, Jafet, okay, we'll work on getting that up. Yeah, thank you.
No, the stream is live.
The stream is live, but is it, so, but it's the Zoom? The Zoom is locked, yeah. Okay. Okay, go ahead and proceed, Hector.
it's-
Okay, go ahead and proceed, Hector.
okay, a funding application to replace the 9th and Lincoln, lift station was submitted to the Yakima County Development Association for consideration. The Substanding Investment in Economic Development Program, SEED. The application was reviewed by SEED Board and the county commissioners, and after separate presentations, approval was granted to be awarded for the funds for the project. This anticipated loan will be $569,720 to be repaid over 10 years at a 5.06% interest rate. And the interest rate is the Yakima County's interfund loan rate. With a recommendation from staff is to allow the interim city manager to sign the SEED contract YC 2026-2. And I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Hector?
Just for, since we've been sitting here in this was project for this particular grant loan thing. Which project are we talking about?
We are talking about the 9th in Lincoln.
Oh, the lift
Sewer
station.
Project lift station, yes, that's in the
Right.
middle of the road. That will be moving it over to the school property that we are that we're paying for.
Right.
And if I can help, the council has already approved the application
Yeah.
with this funding and loan grant scenario for this project.
Yes.
This is just confirming it was awarded. So now we just need the approval to enter into the contract. But it was awarded exactly as applied.
Yes.
Yes. So we're just, okay. All right. Well, this seems pretty cut and dried.
Well, I make a motion to approve a resolution to allow the interim city manager to sign SIED contract YC 2026-2.
Thank you.
I'll second that
Motion
motion.
by Counselor Vasquez, second by Counselor Chavez. Is there discussion? Deeper discussion? More discussion? Hearing none, I'll initiate a roll call. Councilmember Galvan?
Yes.
Counselor Dolan?
Yes.
Counselor Chavez?
Yes.
Counselor Sasati?
Yes.
Counselor Vasquez?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart?
Yes.
I too vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, wastewater utility improvement task order number 2024-11, amendment number 1. Approve a resolution to allow the interim city manager to sign the amendment number 1 to task order number 2024-11. Is this your item again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, and I'll defer to Hector to
Yes.
provide background information.
So the item is to execute a task order amendment with HLA Engineering and Land Servicing to perform construction engineering and administration service for the 9th and Lincoln project. The costs for these services were included the Yakima County Supporting Investment and Economic Development, the SEED funding. The agreement is also beginning consider during the March 23rd council meeting. The amendment amends the task order 24-11, which include only design engineering services for the replacement of 9th and Lincoln. And I can answer any questions if the council has any.
Any questions for Hector?
Just real quick, is this construction expected to start in June? Do we know how long the construction is gonna last? Granted, because it sits right in front of the school and we don't wanna.
Understandable. So the construction is supposed to start in June. But with the length of time of how we're gonna get our materials, that will all dictate on what time we will be starting construction.
If I may,
Stephanie can answer.
Stephanie's on the line. I didn't know that. Stephanie?
hi, Councilman Gavon, thank you for that question. So the project is a little involved, as you can imagine, and as Hector related to materials, we do have long lead items for pumps and control panels, which a contractor will get ordered as soon as they start. Still anticipated to be June 1. That doesn't preclude the contractor from getting in the intersection and actually putting the piping, the trenching needed, to get the improvements done. Then we'll be kind of waiting for those pumps and control panels to show up. And when they do, the contractor really won't need to get back into the roadway. And so that will then escalate kind of construction and then eliminate some of the impacts that you would typically see during construction for, in road work. The typical timeline is going to be 90 days. So hopefully that helps you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Stephanie.
excellent.
Was there another hand up?
No, she went ahead and answered it.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have one. When will you go out for bid on the contractor, or have you already done that?
The bid is out and we will be having opening bids on April 1st. I reserved downstairs so we can get opening bids.
At City Hall?
Yeah, at City Hall in the basement, correct.
Quick question, Hector.
Yes, sir.
How are you guys planning around with the school being, because I'm looking at there's going to be coming in. So how are you guys planning with being able to accommodate Washington?
So I will be talking to Washington and the contractor to make sure that we work with them and accommodate for their obviously of dismissal and entrance on it to make sure everything works out properly. So I will be talking to them.
Yeah, that road's very hectic during the release.
It is every morning, yes.
Mm.
So, and I know it's a busy intersection.
What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve the resolution allowing the interim city manager to sign the amendment number 1 to task force number 2024-11.
I'll second.
Yeah, I'll give that to your mom.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Hart, second by Councilor Chavez. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Galvan?
Yes.
Councilor Dolan?
Yes.
Councilor Chavez?
Yes.
Councilor Cesati?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hart?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so then coming into the added item to the agenda is public hearing. And this comes from the adopted ordinance back from our previous council meeting, March 2nd. I hope I have the right date. But it's around establishing a 6-month emergency moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for essential public facilities, including secure community transition facilities. Is there anything else that I'm missing, Councilor Galvan? I refer to you because
No.
this was your item. Okay. So at this time, I will go ahead and open the public hearing on said item. But before we begin, I will ask if any council member has a conflict of interest or an appearance of fairness issue with this item. If you do, please state that now. I will also ask if anyone in the audience has any objection to any council member, including myself, participating in this hearing. If so, please state that at this time. Seeing none, I will move forward and open public hearing at 7:50 p.m. I do have someone on the list for public hearing around this item, and that is Jennifer Martinez. Is Jennifer still here?
I need to ask if I can step in for Jennifer Martinez. She has a family emergency.
Is there any objection?
That's fine.
Go ahead and step up forward.
Vicki Ripley, stepping in for Jennifer Martinez. Oh, okay, but-
I don't think that mic's on.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to speak about less restrictive alternative homes, LRAs, and why we need to take precaution before it's too late. At the last city council meeting, there was discussion about a 6-month pause on SCTFs. But the reality is SCTFs, secure community transition facilities, are locked, state-run facilities, similar to many prisons. There's one on McNeil Island and another on Pierce County, in Pierce County. They're expensive and rare. The likelihood of one coming to Sunnyside is extremely low. What we need to focus on are LRAs. These are court-ordered placemats for sexually violent predators in regular homes or apartments, often in residential neighborhoods. There is no 6-month pause for LRAs, and the city cannot block them. These are determined by the courts, not by local zoning. When LRAs are placed, we get only 30 days notice, which is not enough time to react if the zoning isn't already set up to protect our community. That's why I'm urging the council to act now before we are forced to respond to a placement after the fact. Zoning is the tool we have. We need to require that any future LRA homes be located in lighter industrial areas away from schools, parks, and homes. This is about protecting our children, our families, and our neighborhoods. Please don't wait until we're reacting to a placement. Take the precautions now. Safe neighborhoods aren't optional, and our community deserves this protection. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to step forward and provide public comment on this item? Hearing none, we will go ahead and close.
Well, we have some say in that.
Oh, actually, yes, sorry.
So,
Going back to council for council comments.
can, Mr. Galvan, you brought this forward, but can you kind of just refresh our memory of what we were, what the purpose was?
I'm going to refer to Julie. Julie, that's one of my questions is the LRAs, it's included, right, in this moratorium?
Yeah. Yeah, and just to be clear, you can close the public hearing portion and this is discussion just on your record now.
Okay.
This doesn't need to be part
Okay.
of the hearing.
So we can go ahead and close it at 7:53 p.m. And
But yes, going
can-
back to your question, the 6-month emergency moratorium that you adopted does restrict both types of sightings. So applications for either the essential facilities or the LRAs are included in the pause. Now that you've had this public hearing, at the next meeting, we will bring back the ordinance that continues the moratorium for the full 6-month period. But yes, it is, those are included in what you've already frozen.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of, can I have a part two to that question?
Yeah.
Is that right? Because part two of that question is with Ms. Is it Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez talked about different places rather than in residential areas. She talked about in light industrial, but isn't that a zoning issue to put housing, those kinds of facilities into, because what are these? Are they going to be facilities? Are they going to be houses? Are they, is it going to violate any of our zoning, residential zoning?
So that's the purpose of this is so a city can go through and look at the zoning regulations so we could set and define rules and procedures for like Councilor Ms. Ripley said, we can't ban them altogether, but we can definitely set rules as to where they can go in the city. And that's something that I would like to see. If we have to allow it, then let's, allow it in lighter.
And make it harder for them to be able to set residents. Basically, the reason we got this brought up to us was we want to be proactive instead of reactive. Obviously, everybody's seen what happens in Kennewick with the reaction of what's going on with them when they allowed a similar case over there. So when this was brought up, obviously, yes, it's a zoning, but that's why when myself, Councilor Galvan, Councilor Dolan, Councilor Chavez, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Norton, and Mr. Calhoun from HLA Planning all met, and we wanted to make sure that we were on the right path. It is structured for the state to mandate, but like I stated, we want to make it that much harder for people to be able to stay here and be proactive. We want to protect our community, and this is why we're doing this.
Thank you.
Mhm. So this is gonna be going back to, is it the Public Safety
Planning Commission?
Committee?
This will go back once we get the ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Norton, this will have to go to planning. And we want to make sure, because it's a zoning, once we take it to planning and discuss it there, then we'll bring everything back to the council for last hoorah.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
you'll see this probably twice more. So next meeting, you'll get the ordinance that continues the moratorium. There won't be any regulations attached with that. It's just going to keep the pause in place that you've got going on now. Eventually, when we get through the planning process, you will see proposed changes to your code, which will probably just be text amendments because we're not going to create any new zones or map changes. But you will probably see some text amendments that talk about how these facilities can be located within certain existing zones and whether it's under a conditional use permit or what other types of parameters are going to apply. That will come probably closer to the end of the 6 months as in the form of an actual zoning regulation.
And I believe at this very moment, we are working on the planning, the zoning comprehension plan. So that's why we're working on it right now, so we can get it adopted in to the planning zone and then bring it to council.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hearing no further discussion around this, we will, and since we've already closed public hearing, we will move on to the next item. Items from council members. A, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. The Rules Committee is meeting, hopefully this week, to look over any, I don't know if there's been any submission of newer applications, but we haven't convened in over maybe a couple of weeks, so be a good idea to come together and figure out where we are with our boards and commissions and what seats are still vacant and what still needs to be filled and what applications are still out there for review and council consideration.
Do we have a date yet?
No, I think you were waiting for one more response. So I will circle back.
Okay.
other reports, announcements, and/or questions by council. I will go ahead and start at the end with Counselor Chavez.
Where they sent us an email, I think you received also from the Boys and Girls Club up in Prosser. They wanted to meet with us now that we're kind of a little more set, where we want to make, he asked me to make the motion to see when we're able to meet and just let him know and we'd get together.
Need a date?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a date. I've been a part of that email thread.
Mhm.
And I believe the conversation left off at trying to schedule in, I think it was during the week that I was in Washington DC, so I couldn't attend, but it seems like that meeting didn't happen.
It didn't.
I know they're asking for the interim city manager to also be present, so
I believe we're also going to have some individuals from the school board.
school
As
district.
part, as a school board that will also, school district will also be part of that.
So I don't want to monopolize this or take this over, but if my 2 cents around this is if you want to open it up to council members again and see who wants to join in, that way maybe you can take initiative to include now Pat Haley in these conversations and try to solidify a date for when, is it Brian? For when Brian returns from vacation, because I believe he's going to be
Bernice.
on vacation from the 21st through the 1st. So that would give us an indication of when he'd be back. So I'm thinking maybe sometime around April 6th or the week of April 6th.
If anybody on council would like to know, would like to attend, send me an email and we can see what we can get together on that.
So please email Counselor Chavez directly.
Mhm.
And this is for the tour of the Boys and Girls Club in Prosser.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Counselor Cesati?
Nothing comes to mind, nothing to report.
Counselor Vasquez?
Yeah, so on Facebook today, an organization that's located here in Sunnyside is called MRJN Associates. They just recently had a ribbon cutting ceremony, if you guys remember. And so they just announced that they will be opening up an indoor arcade and game room here in the city of Sunnyside. And it's going to be specifically for our youth, so they have a safe space to just hang out and play. So it's going to be something pretty exciting. They just announced it on Facebook, so something extra for our youth to do. It's very much needed, so I'm looking forward to that opening up here soon. They're also tied with 70x7, which is a local thrift store that help give back to those who are in need. Lions Club, we actually have some cookbooks that we worked on throughout the holidays last year. Each Lion member had to create or bring recipes of their favorite dish or favorite desserts. And the books have finally come in, and I have several, and we are selling them. They are $10 each. So if you guys want to support the Lions Club, if you guys have also attended the school district meetings, the Lions Club is always giving and pouring back into the community. So every purchase of a cookbook, it's $10 and you get 100 recipes. And when you purchase this cookbook, you're not only supporting the Lions Club, but you're literally pouring it back into the community. And it's just a full circle where you get to purchase something for your own benefit, where you get to cook or try something delicious or new and challenge yourself, right? Sometimes we get stuck with cooking the same thing and just kind of like cooking something different. I encourage you guys to purchase a book just so that we can support and sell all the books that we have. And I know that it'll make the club very, very happy. So if you're interested, please reach out. I have a book and I can sell it to you guys. And it goes back to the Lions Club. So don't forget. And Community and Economic Development Commission, we will be talking about the wayfinding sign. So I just wanted to extend an invitation to all the council members. If you guys have any ideas on where some signs would be like an ideal place to kind of like point an arrow to, an example, City Hall or public parking, the community centers, this direction. We have, like what are some of the hot spots in Sunnyside that we would like to introduce to new people who come into our town? So if you guys could kind of like help me think about hot spots, think about places that would really represent Sunnyside very well.
Like the museum.
Right, at the museum. So if you guys can kind of like just all shoot me a email and kind of giving me some direction as to where you guys would like to see some signs. And maybe even if you guys are a little more on the creative side, send me an idea or some pictures on how you guys would like it to look, what colors you guys would like. Just so that we have something to start off with, and I could present this to the community and economic development. And we will be brainstorming and bringing all these ideas together. It will be a process, but I would really appreciate your guys' input and direction. And that would be it for me.
When are y'all meeting?
We will be meeting in April. Yeah, so you guys have some time, just as long as I get that before the month of April.
It's the first Tuesday at noon
Correct,
at City Hall.
correct.
Thank you. Counselor Dolan?
Well, we had the pleasure of inviting our new interim city manager over to the museum, and he met with Leroy Workhoven, and they did a interview with KIMA about all the kids that helped to restore an ice cream wagon from the early 1900s. Maybe it was the late 1800s. I don't remember the dates. But it went very well. I think they got to look at what we're doing over there and trying to turn it into somewhat of a display in the new building over there. And every Thursday from 3 to 5, we have work sessions, and it turned out real well. I think I heard back from everybody that they had a good time there for the short period that we had it.
Awesome. Great. Counselor Galvan?
Yeah. So the Public Works Subcommittee met last week, and we're just kind of finalizing for the mobile vendors, the new wording. And Councilor Dolan and myself had some recommendations and some feedback for both Hector and Corey. So hopefully we could get those in place and bring it back to council for approval here soon. And then I had a question and for the climate resilience. My understanding is that climate resilience took action, not necessarily pertains to climate resilience, but it should be brought before council as a whole, removing a member. So I don't know if
We haven't, I didn't bring that up. We can talk about it at rules and then we'll bring it back.
okay, so no member has been removed.
Not yet.
Okay,
We've talked about it.
okay, that was just my question. Thank you.
So speaking about climate resiliency, we've been working on our survey, which should be coming up on the city's website. I think it's supposed to be coming up probably in the next week or so. Isn't that right, Hector?
I'm working on it, yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be coming up. We've also set a date in May, I believe, for the open forum that we're going to have an open house to talk about climate resiliency. We'll probably, it'll talk a little bit about what kinds of things fall into that climate, you know, the wind, heat, the changes in heat, all the different things that we know are affecting the climate. So we'll be having some more information on that. We'll be putting out some public information on that. But the survey should be coming up. I think we want to have all the surveys back in by, was it May 6th?
Correct.
May 6th. And so we may take a few more at the open house on, I believe it's the 18th, or is it the 19th, Hector?
I believe it's the 19th.
19th.
You're setting it
Yeah,
up.
and we'll have that at the community center. But we're also going to have a table at Cinco de Mayo downtown with doing some surveys for the climate resiliency. We're also going to be having a room, probably in the Planning Commission office, to have the surveys, to have somebody there help people who may have difficulty doing those kind of computerized surveys. We are going to do paper surveys at the Cinco de Mayo, unless we figure out a different way to do it. But it is going to be in English and in Spanish, so the survey is pretty extensive. It's what, about, I want to think about 7 pages. Is it more than that?
Off my head, I can't remember how many
It
pages.
goes real fast.
Yes.
It goes real fast. But anyway, so we have been making some progress there on the climate resiliency. The Arts Commission has also been having some, I met, these all met last week, so. So the Art Commission, yeah, we met on Friday and we are working towards having our spring break project. We talked about having a movie and doing some rock painting over at Community Center. And we're kind of got some of our logistics figured out with the help of our new interim city manager over here, Mr. Haley. And he was very helpful with us with that. Also, I wanted to commend him for his help with the climate resiliency meeting as well. And then also when we met for Finance Committee, again, we met, that was on Thursday. And again, I really appreciated Monica being there via Zoom and just like having her in the room, you know, it was very good. And I thought we got quite a lot done and we're getting closer to knowing, you know, where are the every month bills and then so we know which ones are out of, you know, just necessities or come up as an accident. But anyway, we had, so the Arts Commission project is still looking for some donations. If anybody wants to drop us a check for the Arts Commission's spring break program. We have some other things we want to do during Cinco de Mayo, including doing some murals downtown. So we're going to need some more paint in any case. So they're really working hard on those things. And I just wanted to say that I appreciated the attention of our city manager coming in and seeing what we're doing, seeing what the volunteer leaders in this town are doing as far as those who are serving on the different commissions. And I really commend them for their time and their spirit of let's make Sunnyside a better place to live in. So thank you. That's what I have.
So I have nothing to report.
Madam Chair. I forgot one thing, if you allow me. So I was talking to Sandra Cesati, and she works for the Grandview Community College.
Oh, I thought she was here to do public comment. So
And you know, she has a good idea. You know, if the city, you know, if we could work with them, they want to bring I guess an event to the community center. And this event would be for those high schoolers that maybe took a break, a year off, didn't necessarily go to college. And now, you know, after a year, they might want to go to college or maybe even other individuals. And her plan and her mission is to bring, I think she says she has at least 7 colleges that she has talked to in providing information about scholarships and how they can apply to scholarships and how, you know, they can provide resources for that. So, it looks like they have everything in order and all they need is, you know, maybe if the city is willing to sponsor those hours and that way it could be an event for the whole community, the whole, you know, surrounding community. It's just not Sunnyside. So, you know, I know there's a process and I know we have to, you know, if we want to sponsor that event, I don't have all the information in front of me as to how much it would cost. I think they want to be in the community center for, correct me if I'm wrong, Sandra, if it's 3 to 4 hours, and, you know, providing those services for our youth that want to go back to college.
okay, I thought you were, so I was gonna give the time to you, but thank you for bringing it up because I guess I'll reclaim some of my time. Sandra is asking, is this on behalf of the Sunnyside School District or is this just you trying to collaborate? Okay, so I just wanted, so the process, I know there's a process to follow, so all of those pieces of information are going to be important. I know that we've had discussion too with somebody else from the community wanted to do a collaboration with Second Harvest. So it's a mobile wagon that just really needs a spot to locate. And then Counselor Chavez, your wife has done it at
At the school.
Sun Valley, and they want to collaborate with the city and host it at the parking lot of the community center. And so Second Harvest gives away free fresh produce, and every time it seems to always run out of food. And I think you were a part, Councilor Vasquez, you attended the Work Source when that just happened not too long ago. So there's a couple of folks that have reached out, one of them being Sandra, that want to collaborate with the city. And I know there's a process for it. So my question is now, what is that process? And I'll allow Sandra to do public comment so she can provide some more information. Because from my recollection, if council approves a collaboration, then some of those fees are waived and they don't have to bring forth insurance. I'm not entirely sure, so I did want to ask how that worked. Since it does both projects significantly benefit the city.
Well, Hector and I have talked about this, if we're talking about Second Harvest, and that it's not my understanding that it's necessary to have a fee structure because it's not necessarily an event. It's just usage of a parking lot. And it will incorporate some support from the police department because you have some traffic issues that usually need to be addressed because you've got a big long line of vehicles and they're in the street. And so there's some traffic flow, whether that's cones or something that needs to be set up. But it's usually a 2 or 3 hour event because you have only a certain quantity of food. When that's distributed, that's the end of it. So it's not my understanding if there's any fee or insurance. It's just giving them permission to be in a particular lot or location on behalf of the city.
Correct. And if they're not going to be using the community center, that is something, as Mr. Haley states, that we don't.
It's not an event.
Yeah.
Okay. Chief, I know you were trained to.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw you leaning into your microphone. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll wait for the public comment to come forth and we can make a determination later how it works then for the community center.
Yes, and I've been in contact with Mrs. Zati. I would think I was talking to a counselor, but I found out I'm talking to her sister. So yes. But I have been in contact with her, and I've sent. It confused me a little.
You confused me.
So I have been in contact with them, and I have actually sent the application, and that way we can start the process.
Okay.
And yeah, we can certainly talk about it. So.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for that. Thanks for bringing that up, Councilor Galvan. Okay, so moving into upcoming council meetings, the next meeting that we have is on Monday, April 6th, and that is a study session. The meeting after that is Monday, April 13th, which is a regular meeting. And these dates can be found on the agenda. Then it goes into city manager reports. This is your time and your staff's time to report to the council and the public.
Well, I would like to thank you for making me feel so welcome. This is my second week, and I've really enjoyed meeting people and having discussions as to how we can work together as a team, essentially to fix some things or normalize some things so that there's some stability. We've got some vacant positions that are really a high priority, and that's something that I'm working on with our human resource director. Specifically for a clerk, you really can't have a city without a clerk. And commonly you might see small cities that have clerk treasurer or clerk whatever, finance director, but you got to have a clerk. And the type of position that we're looking at is generally somebody who's already doing this somewhere else, because you want them to be certified and you want them to be familiar with public records requests. And that's also a certification. So I'm working with, as I said, our human resource director, and originally the position was listed as communication director / clerk. And those two positions are a specialty of sorts that really need to be separated. So we're going back to our recruitment efforts and just specify for a clerk position. We've done some comparable city analysis to see how other cities, what the rate is, what the wage structure is for just a clerk position. And so we're actually going to be re-advertising the position at a new wage structure that's lower than the existing rate that's out there. So the existing applicants can, also apply, but we didn't want to interview them and then change the wage right after we selected somebody. We just thought that was inappropriate. So we do have in our city code, we have a clerk position. So it's already defined as somebody that's an official part of the city administration structure. And assuming that the council would be acceptable to a lower wage for just a specific clerk position, then issues as it relates to communication can be either subcontracted out with a third party or some other contracted entity so that we're not committing to a full-time employee at this time. Those are my essential priorities, is to get that position filled.
Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, and again, thank you to the staff. They really worked great together so far. And, it's nice to feel welcome, and I really appreciate that.
Okay. Do staff have reports?
I have two quick things. One maybe not so quick, but our goal was to raise $50,000 for the canine. We're just over 10 so far. And the officers that select all the canines for Yakima County were going down to Alabama where they get the dogs for getting 2 dogs for the Yakima Police Department. So rather than have them go back down there when we raise the funds, the Canine Foundation said, we'll go ahead and take care of the dog. Let's get it coming. So the dog came 2 days ago. It's at the handler's house. Friday, in my personal truck, he doesn't have a truck. So I drove him around, got all the stuff for the kennel so he could build it this weekend. That's done. He had a company do the prep work for the concrete. They donated all their time. The concrete company donated the concrete, and then a concrete contractor poured it all and donated their time. So that was probably $6,000 or $7,000 worth of work that was done at his house, so that the kennel is set on that concrete and then screwed down to it so that the dog can't lift it or anything like that. So the dog's name is Joker. That was the name it came with. It's all black. And there's some question whether it's a Malinois or a German Shepherd, because all his paperwork's in Czech. So the handler's trying to translate it all because the dogs come out of the Czech Republic. So that's the update on the canine. We've gotten some more donations, and they're continuing to roll in. So we're working on that. And then at the YVCOG dinner last Wednesday, I was there with the sheriff and Union Gap's police chief. We did a small presentation, and Deputy Mayor Hart asked me to give a little update on that. So right now, the Yakima Valley, or the crime lab, is in 500 square feet in the sheriff's office precinct 3, which is in Zilla. And the plan was always to either expand it or move it to a new location so that we could increase services. So right now there's basically 4 things the lab provides, and the options are, we want to add 1 or 2 things, and as time goes on, maybe more. And so as we've gotten into this, there's a lot of things going on. So the radio tax passed. So there's gonna be a radio upgrade for all police, fire, and ambulance in Yakima County. With that, the consolidation of dispatch talk has been happening, and so where that's going to happen. And then also in that has been a real-time crime center, which is kind of the next wave of the future for law enforcement, where we have access to a lot of technology, but we're driving to calls and dispatchers are dispatching. So who's taking all that technology and feeding it live to units in the field, whether that's police or fire on a brush fire, or information that an ambulance is going to a house where maybe they're going to encounter somebody that's hostile or something like that, based on previous contacts. So the building, there's a building in Union Gap that's owned by the county, and right now Suncom is in there, who dispatches some police and fire. The plan is to consolidate county-wide all dispatch to that location. There's also a plan to move the crime lab there, to go from 500 square feet to about 3,000. And then there's also a plan to put a real-time crime center in there, as well as emergency operations center for the county. Right now, when there's an emergency at the emergency operations center, which is in that building, it's just used as a training room most of the time. They have to wheel in the computers and all of that kind of stuff. It's not set up. So when there's an emergency, it takes them a couple hours of setup. And so they got some federal funding last year to set up a emergency operations center that's active all the time. So this real-time crime center would be able to not only get information from the lab, relay it straight to dispatch, relay it straight to the emergency operations center if there's a large event, but we're trying to get everything consolidated under one roof countywide, and it'll really increase public service, police, fire, everybody. So that was the presentation we gave last Wednesday, and Ms. Hart asked me to give you guys a little bit of information on it tonight. So that's the wave of the future. Probably most of that'll happen. Our goal is within the next 2 years. So
Thank you.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Chief, do you want to, or the mayor want to give any update on the DC trip?
We can.
Yeah.
So we went to DC and we met with Senator Cantwell, Senator Murray, and Newhouse's office. So their requests for the senators was over 700 from their district. So obviously the senators aren't going to meet with 700 people. So you meet with their staffers. And so they have large staffs. So 10, 12 people on their staff. So this person might be in charge of their criminal justice budget. This person might be in charge of their roadway budget. This person might be in charge of their treatment, like waterworks budget. So what you would meet with your request with the person that pertains to that part of the federal budget. And you would give them the presentation on what you were trying to do. So we presented on two things. One was the bridge on Edison at 241. Department of Transportation wants to put a roundabout in there. I think we've talked about this, but anyway, they want to put in the roundabout. We need to improve the bridge to make that happen, or they can't do their part of the project. So that was one presentation, and the other one was upgrades at the sewer treatment plant. We did get one question on which one was a higher priority, and we said the sewer treatment plant because the potential for leak and getting into the aquifer in the Yakima River Basin and what that could do to fish and everything else. So that was our presentation. I don't know if you want to add anything, but.
Yeah, no, you covered everything. It was, I think we got some really good feedback, and they were very receptive. The consultant definitely reaffirmed that too. So it's making us believe that we are in and we're manifesting this for some good news pretty soon.
Yeah, in the next month or two, he said.
I think he said, yeah. So it's not too far away.
We won't see those funds until the middle of next year, 27.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think just the other thing that's kind of combined in there is like trying to figure out where the $2.1 million is that came in from Senator Patty Murray's office back in January. I think that's going to be part of the conversation that we continue having with John. Right. Yeah. So it's all good stuff.
All right. So sent out my weekly report earlier today, but just a quick recap. As of this morning, we've responded to 1,050 emergencies to date, with last week being 78 of those. We've had some trainings pop up. So last week we logged 130.5 training hours, which brings our annual year-to-date total to 1,126.5 training hours. So busy week. Got a lot of good things done. End of report.
For myself, it's been obviously a busy week also. Setting up interviews for this Wednesday for a washtop project, so we can get a consultant in on those projects. We have 3 who we will be interviewing. HOA is one, Gray and Osborne is one more, and a Fuller Designs. Now this is for projects that are on First and YVH, safety, pedestrian, I-82 and the roundabout. So there's projects out there that we'll be working on interviewing, trying to get a consolidation. I was in a meeting last week where the OFM, that's the census. Lot of information. It's something that I will be working on. I found out that Miss Gardner from Yakima is our point of contact for this. She was very receptive. She was on the meeting, and knowing that it's my first time doing this census, she's more than willing to help out and get it done incorrectly. We'll be meeting with the FAA about the fencing project. that we hope to proceed with, or we'll be proceeding with. Obviously working with Miss Norton on the swim team contract. I think we're all done. I reviewed it. I sent it to her for review. She sent it back. Miss Aguirre has been sent the contract and she said it's okay. So that's something I'll be bringing up to the council for, to be able to, proceed with. Working on, with Department of Ecology's stormwater capacity grant. It's money that we get, fully funded for 150,000. For wages, materials, and stuff that for the stormwaters for our MS4. Like like the mayor has said, trying to find that 2.1 million. Talking to the conference, see who we need to talk to get that money coming. I've been talking with Mr. Colton. He gave me some person to contact. I did reach out to them. Obviously, they were up in DC with you guys, so I left a message, and hopefully they'd be getting back to me as soon as possible, so we can get that money and start using it to proceed with some of the projects that we want to use. And then working with my public works departments, they've been great. We've been very busy and trying to get some tasks completed. So that's the end of my days.
Thank you.
When you said the federal, is that the Federal Aviation?
Yes, ma'am.
You're talking about fencing then at the airport?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that fencing going to be located?
That will be around the whole airport of the to be
Around the
yes,
runway as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to take up much time, but I don't want to lose this train of thought that I have here because sometimes it doesn't make it to email till like a couple days later when I remember again. But Chief Lehman was in conversations when he was still sitting in as interim with Pioneer Elementary Vice Principal Rose, is it Lobostal, and Julie Perez. There was conversations around a grant that the school district had received and that it could potentially help us expand our pool hours for the summer. I wasn't a part of their initial meeting, but I know this is something that you're going to want to connect with Chief Lehman about. I don't know where it was left out, but I also wanted to let council know that this conversation is underway.
Just a real quick thing. I don't think it was going to be able to expand the pool hours. They were going to probably take over the entire pool and rent it for hours that it wasn't going to be open.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but they need to get numbers before they can come back to us. So they were going to have their sign up period, and when that closed, they were going to come back. So we're waiting on that to happen. I think it might be like the first week or two of April, they close their application period so they can say, hey, we got 500 kids or 400, but they expect numbers somewhere in that area for their summer program.
Okay.
Just, Mayor, is that for lessons at the pool or?
So that's an summer education program. They would have to provide some type of education to the kids at the pool. So they were thinking like swim lessons.
Okay.
So how we're going to accommodate that's really going to depend on how many kids they have. So we're trying to find that out first. And it might say the older kids go on Monday and Wednesday, the younger kids go Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever. So we're just trying to get all that number of kids and how we can break them up. Because if they have 200 kids in the 5th and 6th grade and they bring them all to the pool, there's no way we have enough lifeguards for that many. Probably only be able to take a quarter of those at most. And so they would maybe have to have the kids out in the park playing and then rotate into their swim lesson time or something to that effect.
This is only going to be during summer school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only for like a month and a half. Yep. I think it's June and half of July.
Really great. And then I don't know if you've been a part of these conversations, Hector, but
No, I was there with.
You were- okay,
Yes,
perfect,
I was
okay.
there. And like the chief stated, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna separate. I think the talks were 2 weeks, the young ones, and then the final 2 weeks were the older kids. But yeah, so I am working on getting a pool manager, an assistant, and lifeguards. And I've been actually got contacted today by our old pool manager from last year. So she put an application to wanting to come back. So be nice.
great. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for reporting back on that. Okay, next up, we do have an executive session. Public comment is at the very end. I asked about this earlier, and quite frankly, I think this is a conversation that we probably need to have in work study. If we continue having it like this, or if we revert back to how it used to be. It's going to be a council of the whole decision, so I'm proposing we bring it up in work study. And the Rules Committee is going to meet, so maybe we can talk about it during this time. But in the case that some folks need to go home because it is almost 9 o'clock, is there any objection with moving public comment now and then following with our last item, which is executive session?
Is there going to be any action on the
I
executive session? Do we expect any? No?
I don't think so.
So then that makes sense then to go ahead and have public comment now for just.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
No objection.
So there is somebody else that came in that didn't get to sign up. I think in if this continues, we should leave the sign up sheet, or at least have two separate ones. So people are coming in later because they know that public comment for general topics is at the end, then they can sign up. So I'll go ahead and include you in here. Sandra, the first on the list is Monica Niemeyer.
The microphone's not on. How does it?
Wiggle it.
Or it's,
And where's the button? There I go. Okay. Monica Niemeyer, Sunnyside, Washington. And I wanted to kind of, I'm just a little confused. I'm hoping you can give the public some answers on what happened on the events around March 7th. And that's in regards to the conversations, of course, that were out in the newspaper that involved the city of Sunnyside, the council, the city attorney, Ms. Julie Norton, Mike Gonzalez, and his attorney, Mr. Zach Kummer, and the line of thread started from David Cortines. And so we know that we had a special meeting on January 29th, and we know the council went in executive session. We know that the council came out of executive session, and Councilmember Chavez made a motion for Mike Gonzalez. Councilmember Cesati seconded it, and Mayor Frostel voted to bring him back. We then know Deputy Mayor Hart voted no, Councilmember Galvan voted no, Councilmember Vasquez voted no, and Councilmember Dolan voted no, stopping the vote. To you for thank you. And then after that, it gets a little confusing for the public. So, why did David Cortines report on behalf of Mike Gonzalez that his attorney, Zach Kummer, that Mike got his job back? How did that happen? And they're referring to an offer. What offer are they referring to? So, how can there be discussion of employment if the vote to bring Mike back was taken off the table? If the council of the whole voted no, how was there still discussion of employment? And did Ms. Norton reach out to Zach Kummer? If so, how? That's an action. That would have had to have been decided in public. And if it's the other way around, if Mr. Hummer reached out, well, that's a little bit of a coinkydink there. Based on the voting of the council and what was on the agenda and the action taken, Mike was just discussed in executive session. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Hummer happens to reach out. Well, how did that happen? What conversation did Mike have to his attorney to tell him to call, if it did go that way? And still, what about this agreement that is being reviewed, that's being considered? How did that happen? Well, if Mr. Hummer did reach out to Ms. Norton about an agreement, he reaches out to talk to Ms. Norton, and they just happen to have conditions of agreement available? How did that happen? And so either way, the point I'm getting to is I worry that an OPMI violation and violations are happening. And my example to support that is I did a public records request on February 22nd, and I asked for all copies of lawsuits and tort claims. There were 13 during that time that were filed. And none of these items have been discussed publicly. So then that means to tell me we're not responding to them? I mean, if any action has to come, there has to come before the public on what they're going to do. I'm sure some are still pending. I actually don't know. I'd have to take a guess. The only item I've ever heard discussed It's a tort claim filed by Maria Fernandez. And do we need to stop? Is that okay? Oh, okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
I usually get like the little music going on. Next on the list is Sandra Cesati.
Good evening, everyone. Sandra Sati, Sunnyside. And so, Mayor Frausto and Councilmember Galvan, they did mention about a collaboration if we could work on. And this collaboration would be between YVC, so Yakima Valley College and Grandview, and also City of Sunnyside, and also the Sunnyside School District. And so what I'm proposing is if the City of Sunnyside would provide this space, which is the community center, where our seniors, current seniors, and also other graduating years to come, where they could apply to colleges, since we do have 7 confirmed, and also help them with their financial aid, right? So I do want to help our community make education, higher education more accessible and meeting our students and families where they're at. So our current seniors do receive support in their schools, but then also we are left with certain steps that we're still missing, you know, to get them into like fall quarter or semester ready. Myself as a first generation college student, I struggled and I didn't know my next steps after applying and what I needed to do. So this is the opportunity where students can come that have already applied and check in on their next steps with the colleges and universities that have said that they are available on that date, which I'm requesting April 22nd, which is a Wednesday from 3 to 7. So that gives us a time frame of 4 hours, of course, with setup and takedown. So I was thinking 1:30 to 8:30, right, for that setup. And we're also partnering with Yakima Valley Partners of Education because they have given us funds to secure even dinner, free dinner for students that go through any steps with any other colleges. So this is also for students to come through that are graduating this year, but then those that maybe took a year off and don't know what the process is to go to any of the other colleges that are there, or YVC, whoever, you know, they decide to go to. So this is more of like us meeting our students where they're at, because our students that have already graduated, who do they go to? They don't go to the high school no more, right? So this is also tailored to not just our seniors, but previous graduating classes. And so YVC would provide the staff with admissions, financial aid. Sunnyside School District, I have already talked to our superintendent, Ryan Maxwell, and he's providing 15 laptops for technology so that way students could either apply, pull up their financial aid, get help with financial aid, whatever that may look like. And then also I was thinking of having our other colleges and universities table with their information and help the students with their next steps. But also Sunnyside could have a table, right, and promote the vacancies that we have in our committees, since we're going to have our younger students there and possibly with their families. So this is an opportunity to take also to provide committees with vacancies. That way we can fill those up. I don't know if you all have any questions. I did include Councilmember Galvan, Mayor Frausto, Hector, and our interim city manager in that email. And I know that Hector provided me with an application, and yes, YVC does have our insurance through the Department of Enterprise Services.
Oh, time.
Sorry.
Time is up.
Yes.
Y'all need to ping me.
Thank you.
Wait, do y'all want to allow, I don't know if this is going to help make the decision, whatever she's,
I think
or I think we're good.
I think we're good.
We're good? Okay, okay. Just wanted to make sure we have all the information.
Just also trade schools, ask some trade schools if.
Correct.
you know,
Yes.
Harry and all.
Yes, so not just call it, you know, university, but technical schools as well.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. For general public comment? You weren't listed on here. Is there any objection for Counselor Ripley?
No.
Or sorry,
No objection.
I still call him deputy mayor. All right.
No objection.
I have no objection.
Okay. Go ahead and approach the podium.
My name is Vicki Ripley. I live in Sunnyside. And I appreciate interim city manager Pat Haley for keeping things about finance in council hands. That's, not just in the committee. That's where it should be because the city, the citizens have a lot of questions too. And it would be nice to hear from Monica about the finance. And I appreciate Julia bringing it up, but I would like to hear from Monica. And on the reconciliation of 2024, how's it going? Haven't heard anything about that. Is there any time frame on when that's going to be done? Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye.
Okay. So that is the end of our public comment list. And now we will move into the final item here on the agenda, which is executive session. And I will list the RCWs that were provided to me, and then we can figure out who stays and who goes. What time is it? 8:45. Okay, so we're gonna move into executive session to go over RCW 42.030.110 subsection GI and RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1G to discuss pending litigation with legal counsel and reviewing qualifications of an applicant. So we will be asking everybody to please leave the council chambers. Do we have any time on this that we want to start with?
15 minutes.
15 minutes? Okay. So we'll go ahead and start with 15 minutes. Yeah.
Ready?
Okay.
Sheesh.
Did you bring dinner?
I don't think there's any need for staff to return, so if you guys wanted to go.
We should have ordered pizza ahead of time.
Yes.
I really doubt it would be.
Ask her, should we order pizza?
Let me use the restroom.
Didn't take this.
Okay, thank
Let me know when. Good. Okay. So we're back in open session. No action is taken in public, and it's now 9:32.